human crises. What brings humanity together when we're all in danger of something?
Yeah.
This UFO comes down right now, and it's so far advanced than us. We're all susceptible to this other life form. Political party won't matter.
It's just the human race.
On this episode of A Call to Leadership, we finalize our 3-part series on Uber, Airbnb, the search for authenticity and consistency in the experience we create as leaders. I can't wait for you to listen in with my business co-hosts, Sam Salah and Travis Revelle, as we finish up strong. I'm Dr. Nate Salah, and this is A Call to Leadership.
At the end of the day, you know, it's okay for us to disagree. It's okay.
Yeah.
I'm not mad at you because you have different political views than me.
Right.
I'm not mad at you because you pray a different way than I do. We're in this is like super polarization time, man. Like all these things are escalated by algorithms and clicks and we don't realize how much we're affected by it. Like, and it's sad. It really is, because I feel like you said, that piece of advice, I think is I think everybody should follow it, you know, including myself. You know, I think that should be something that all these topics, we used to be able to talk about things and we could disagree and it would be like, we just disagreed.
Yeah.
It's not like people carry that.
Yeah.
Well, and here it compounds it because people feel compelled for you to have to defend your position.
Yeah.
You know? So if you believe a certain way or do a certain thing,
Why?
that's yeah.
Why?
Yeah, it's
Why?
like,
What about this? What about this? Did you research this?
Yeah,
What about this?
as if you're supposed to convince them.
Right.
Like you just be you.
Right.
Be you.
Right.
Be you. Like I don't have to, like, we don't have to agree. We can agree on nothing, and I can
Still
talk
have a
to you
conversation.
and respect you as a human being.
Yeah.
I think that's where it comes down to, is like respecting each other's, you know, I think there's going to get to a point where
The pendulum will swing back, as we say.
human crises, what brings humanity together when we're all in danger of something?
Yeah. Well,
That's when color doesn't matter. That's when political views don't matter. That's when religious beliefs don't matter. You know,
they tell us about the aliens.
when we find this is exactly where
I think we had
the conversation was like built
conversation
around
there, right?
was like when we figure out the conversation on this topic I had less than a week ago. I said, and I made the joking comment, which was could be serious. This UFO comes down right now, and it's so far advanced than us. We're all susceptible to this other life form. Political party won't matter.
It's just the human race.
It's just the human race. Yeah. Now we're all of a sudden we're together, right?
You got to be.
So it could be a good thing come out of aliens come down. You never know. It could be positive. It could be positive things.
And my big question is, will I get my refund on Airbnb?
Airbnb, if you're listening, send this guy his refund immediately.
Sorry, that's not in the contract. Alien invasion. Yeah. You still lose your deposit.
Yeah. Well, don't let the alien. If the aliens want to rent they may not rent now because they're listening and they're like, Nate had a bad experience, and we come down. Right. That's not where we're booking.
I'm just gonna stay at the Ritz.
100%.
Oh man. That's great.
So I do want to talk a little bit about Uber as well, because Uber's facing some issues as well as a company. And again, these are, interesting with these disruptive companies, right? That change the way we see an industry. For example, the taxi industry. I mean, we all know the challenges when you got into a taxi. I mean, over the years, right? First thing I thought of was, is this taxi driver going to take me the long way or the short way, right?
Right. It wasn't convenient.
Right.
It was a dirty experience. It wasn't cheery. It wasn't an experience. It was something you had to do.
But we're in St. Louis. Like, we didn't take many taxis in St. Louis. Did you take many taxis in St. Louis?
No, but I traveled a lot.
But when we traveled.
Yeah, when I traveled.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Right.
Yeah.
Chicago, quite a bit.
Yeah.
New York, of course, major cities.
Right. So, I mean, when I traveled a lot, it was like that. And now, but I think, you've got these different cycles, right? And I'm so interested to see, all of these disruptive technologies that came out, you know, in the early 2000s, mid 2000s that are now going through different business cycles, what happens, right? So Uber is disruptive. They come out, they change the game. Again, massive valuations, right? Huge stock prices. I mean, people made you know what I mean? Like billions of dollars. But now, right, the government is slow to respond to anything, as we all know, but they're responding, right? Like California is trying to say, well, those are actual W-2 employees. You know what I mean? Those aren't gig employees. Changer. That's going to change so many industries if quote unquote, gig employees.
It's going to price them out.
It's going to price them out.
Price them out of
it's going to price them out, right? Because now you are going to be running a taxi business.
Company. You know what's funny? There's a culture change too with like Uber and taxis. So so obviously, you know, we have the office in Vegas. So I'm in Vegas a lot. It's very easy to just walk out to the front of the hotel, take a taxi, and go where I want to go.
Taxi or Uber?
Taxi.
Okay.
So always took a taxi. Never went to the ride sharing section. Never do that. I always it seems convenient to me to walk.
Because they're waiting. They're right there.
They're right there.
Yeah.
Right. So I was recently in Vegas with my little brother. And he's younger, right? 10 years younger than me. And I'm like, we had to get to a different hotel. And he's like, I'm like, man, let's just walk outside and get this taxi. And he's like, no, we're going to get an Uber. I'm like, no, we're not. I'm like, we're going to walk out this door and we're going to walk and get into a yellow or white van taxi cab. And we are going to take a dang taxi. Mm-hmm. And he's like, well, there's a line. I'm like, well, you millennial, wait in line like everyone else.
Right.
No, so it's funny because he's nothing like a typical, like your typical negative millennial. He's nothing like that. But so he won, right? And then we took the Uber. I felt so uncomfortable doing this. I'm like, I had to go to a completely different, because they in Vegas, Ubers don't get love. They're in a separate part of the hotel. You have to kind of walk to get there. It's not
inconvenient.
It's not convenient,
yeah,
right?
They do it on purpose.
Right. So it's yeah, this was weird. And we got we got in a little argument over Uber or taxi. And I'm like, this is the generational difference. Mm-hmm. Your generation is Ubering everywhere. Mm-hmm. I've used Uber maybe all in maybe 12, 15 times. Because, different areas, I get an Uber from one place to another or whatever.
But
in that particular situation, I've never thought about getting in my phone and doing an Uber at a hotel, in Vegas.
Your brother's pretty persuasive like you. Did he outline all the reasons why to get the Uber? He
said the Uber would be faster. Uh-huh. Okay. Which was yet to be proven, because by the time I got there, I was somewhere else. I mean, I don't know if it would have been faster. Yeah. But again, almost it's taboo to take a taxi.
Right.
Taxi?
Right.
Oh my God.
Because Uber it gave you a guaranteed price, right? You know what you're paying.
I don't even know how much. Have you ever looked at how much more expensive or cheaper it is? Is there is there a variant?
I don't know. So my thing, and I Uber a lot when I travel.
And is Lyft a thing anymore?
It is, but I don't ever use Lyft. So,
okay.
But I've gotten to the point to where I only, and this is going to sound terrible, right? But I do Uber Black because I got so annoyed with.
I don't know what that is, by the way. I'm a taxi cab rider.
So Uber Black is like a black car, right? So
okay.
it's like a town car. Okay. It's like an Escalade, whatever it is, right? Yeah. But those guys are, it's bouge. But here's the deal, right? Those guys are actual limo drivers. It's not me and you, who we have no idea, what your record is, if you know how to drive, if you have a license, any of that stuff, right? Who's just taking their car and deciding, I'm going to be an Uber today. Mm-hmm. These are professional drivers, right?
And it's not that much more expensive.
It's really not that much more expensive, right? And you just get a better service, right? It's a better experience. You know what you're going to get. I'm not going to sit. I'm 6'3", 220 pounds. I don't want to sit in the back of a Civic. No offense. I just don't want to.
It's not comfortable.
It's not comfortable. But it's getting more expensive, right? To the point to where if I take an Uber Black from my house to the airport, it could be $60, right? You're talking about 10-minute drive.
And is it irresponsible not to compare it? I have never thought to this is $4 cheaper to get to this place. I should probably, I really think I should.
You should. You should as a test for our next episode series. We're going to give you some homework.
I can see Nate coming from half a block away.
So
you set it up perfectly.
Yeah. So next time you're going to tell us, I took an Uber from wherever, point A to point B, and then on the way back, I took a taxi. and tell us what your experience was.
I have a trip to Vegas first week of January after the New Year, and I will do
Perfect. So the next time we have our recording sessions, you can report back. I want you to report back everything: the smells,
Right. Yeah.
the conversation, the quality of the ride. What kind of music was playing? Was it like?
Man, I
was it music-
usually
was it
have my
music from
face in my phone the whole ride.
Was it
so I
music
don't
from
really
the
pay
home
attention.
country, or was it country music?
So here's the other thing I like about it. Here's my plug for Uber, right? I have it set in my settings where when I get into an Uber, it's usually right off of a plane. So I need to make phone calls, right? So I don't want to have somebody who is just talking to me to talk, right?
So you put in the notes like don't talk to me.
It literally will say conversation.
Oh my goodness.
It'll say conversation. And I put no, right? It'll say what do you want your temperature to be? Cool. You know what I mean? Like, do you have bags?
I didn't know that. That's cool.
Right.
Is that just with the black?
It's just in my settings. So I always use black, but so like when the guys when they pull up and I always get in the car and I'm like, hey, I'm so sorry. I'm not trying to be rude. I need to make some phone calls. And they're like, no, you're fine, sir. Go ahead. Because I've already set the expectation. I don't want to have a conversation. And I think, right, for me, I don't want to have a conversation, but I also don't want somebody to feel obligated.
They're like, oh
to
man,
try.
I got to pick this prick up here coming soon. They're like, oh God, I got to pick this guy up. He has 16 black rides this month.
But you know what? They know I don't have to talk to this guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
I'm going to tip him. I'm yes sir, no
I
sir.
know. I'm just being.
But that to me is why I'm a little bit more loyal and I don't take taxis because I don't want to get in a taxi. You know what I mean? Like I don't know who I'm getting, what I'm getting, if they're going to take me the long way. You know what I mean? On Uber, it's like, here's your route.
Yeah.
You know, like it lays it out for you.
It's such a to me, it's like when I'm leaving like a hotel to go somewhere, it's like, I just want to get there. Whatever's the most least painful way, the easiest way is usually my system. My wife would be like, totally him, like whatever's the easiest. Like,
But it's interesting because you're a tech guy.
yeah.
And you're old school. That actually surprised me.
Yes,
when
I'll be
you
honest
said
with you.
that.
I'm
very
becoming
analog
very
with your cars.
I will tell you, the older I get, I feel like the less tech savvy I am because I learn stuff now from people, and I'm like, oh, did you see the new iPhone update? You could do da da da. I'm like, no, and they're like, I'm like.
But
wow.
even then, I mean, for you to have as cool as late model cars, for you to like opt to pull into, to get into like an 87 Crown Vic is just is really interesting to me.
Well, you are my accountant, so I take some of your direction.
Yeah,
because I can totally order limos for every ride. I mean, I don't know. I might get a phone call.
You're like, I don't know if we can deduct all.
That's hilarious.
But that's interesting. It's interesting that you were there because it indeed did disrupt, and it adds so many more layers of experience to what was once considered a very difficult and unsavory, if you will, environment to get into a cab, right? And I serve folks in the industry. A lot of cab drivers from in our accounting firm have started doing Uber and Lyft as well because it had to be supplemented because the cab industry has really taken a hit. But that said, as you had alluded to with new regulation, by moving Uber drivers potentially into the W-2 role, well, now they're not going to be able to deduct their own mileage, their own insurance, all these other factors that their cell phone costs, whatever, all their own personal expenses.
I mean, now you have to.
So Uber's going to have to pay all that, right?
They're just going to exit the market. I don't
see how they do it.
I don't see how
because they become a cab company like
they don't have the infrastructure.
Yeah, the cab company is now going to have a leg up on them.
I mean, how many employees do you then have suddenly overnight, right?
So where did
how many people are?
This came from California.
California.
Not surprised.
Yeah, California.
I mean, realistically, they're not too, let's just say, business friendly.
Well, and they're also right. They're they always take it from. Let's just take it from the employee side, right? You work for Uber. You work 12 hours a day, and maybe after everything, you're making a couple $100. You know what I mean? You're not making a minimum wage. Right. For California. And California's like. But there's also tax revenue that California is missing out on because those employees, you know what I mean? They're 1099 employees.
So they're not getting
the government hates 1099 employees because you can write off so much stuff, you know what I mean? And lower your tax bracket so low. And so I don't see that's a scenario Right. If you were sitting down, you're the Uber CEO and you're doing a SWOT analysis. I don't know if your threat was government regulations coming in and turning our employees into W-2 employees. Like, I don't see how you even consider.
So is that across the board, or is that just in California?
It would just be in California. It's a state regulated.
But then you would see other
yeah, you're gonna
states
see other
follow if
states
they
follow.
start pulling tax
100%,
revenue.
right? Like
No.
here comes Illinois, here comes New York.
Yeah.
But here's the other thing, right? Uber is an innovation company. So if they're going to innovate, they've already started doing some autonomous rides in Vegas. So maybe that's the next play for them.
Yeah,
say,
and then
you know what?
more
If we
people
don't have,
unemployed.
We don't have to pay
Employers,
cars.
right? Right.
Dude, and more people unemployed.
Yeah.
Again, you know, I wish the government would stay away from like, because they're hungry to like once, you know, a company like actually, I'm not saying no regulation, but I'm saying like,
But the government is a company.
but why can't someone be a contractor and drive people around? and
Well,
drop
it's
them off?
because of the law, right? You have to know what the law is regarding the classification and proper treatment of
But they
different
create
individuals.
from what I understand, I could be wrong, maybe you know, is that they basically can work whatever they want. If they want to go work tonight, they say, hey, I'm on the clock. They get in their car. That's a flexible schedule. That's not Uber telling them where to work, when to work, how to work. They're in control of their own schedule. To me, that's every bit of a 1099 employee.
No, I don't disagree. I also read, I mean, you talk about, you know, crazy regulation. If you work in the sex industry in California, you can get government assisted plastic surgery.
Interesting.
Those of you who need plastic surgery and live in California, I mean, you can't pay for it. There's one way to. Well, how could you be an accountant and have that difficult discussion? It's like, hey, with your accountant.
Right. I mean, I've got an OnlyFans, so I need to get, you know.
What a world we
right,
live in.
Right.
So here's some rules from our friends at the IRS regarding.
My best
They're your friends.
I love
our
them.
friends.
I love
at
you
the
guys.
IRS. So yeah. Here we go. And Travis about to start sweating here just talking about the word IRS. He's like, I don't like the government. No. Okay. So here's some facts to provide evidence of the degree of control and independence fall into three categories with the IRS. So one is behavioral. Does the company control or have the right to control what the worker does? What the worker does and how the worker does his or her job. Two, financial. Are the business aspects of the worker's job controlled by the payer? These include things like how the worker is paid, whether expenses are reimbursed, and what provides and who provides tools, supplies, etc. And three, the type of relationship. Are there written contracts or employee type benefits, i.e. pension plan, insurance, vacation pay, etc.? Will the relationship continue? And is the work performed a key aspect of the business? So those are vague and broad, and that's why it's under scrutiny, because some of those you might say behavioral control. Yes, Uber does control what the worker does, right? How the worker does his job. For example, I always like to use the plumber example, right? Your plumber is a true independent contractor. When the plumber comes in to fix a pipe, you're not telling the plumber how to do that work. You're not providing any of the tools. You're not doing any of that, right? As soon as you do, your plumber is going to tell you to go take a hike.
Right.
I'm the expert, right? So that's just one piece. And I think that's why some of this is under scrutiny, because they may win, they may lose. And that may change everything.
Everything.
Man.
The gig economy. But then the question is like, where do these gig employees go? Right. I mean, because there's a labor shortage, there's gig. I mean, so it's almost like one of those things, right? Like it's coming back kind of full circle.
What did Elon Musk say? The government should be a referee, not a player in the game. Exactly what he said.
Smart.
I mean, I don't know how you can disagree with that statement.
I can't disagree with that.
Be a referee. We need referees. In sports, we need referees. Just don't be come out and play with us.
Right.
That's the really...
Well, and some have made the argument to privatize some aspects of the government, i.e. Social Security and other aspects of it.
Yeah, it might actually work then. Sorry, I'll reel it in. Apologize.
No, I mean, look, hey, this could be a segment.
Travis, you're going to give me a reel it in, Sam.
But if you think about it, private enterprise, right? The effectiveness of private enterprise versus public enterprise.
Right.
I mean, just do the math, right? The government does not have the same type of restraints and controls as the individual private market does, right?
No, There are no restraints or controls.
Because the government can just lose money everywhere. It doesn't matter.
They do.
You
It's called
can't
the
stop
national
doing
debt.
business with the government
Right.
to control their behavior. Right.
Right.
You can do it every single day with your dollars in private enterprise. Doesn't work that way.
If the government was a corporation, it would be a loss. That's scary to me.
They would have been bankrupt years ago, man. Like,
I mean, 20, how many trillions?
Yeah,
20 trillion?
20 trillion.
In deficit?
yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
The Pentagon just lost another $8 billion or some crazy number. They just don't know where it went.
I had someone say, don't worry. I had someone who told me,
I've lost I've had like $100, $200
I
bucks.
lost $100, right?
Yeah, I was like, I don't know where it went.
Mad.
so the deficit,
If I lose $100, I am mad.
so the deficit was brought
Where'd
up.
the $100 go? I know I had it.
Where'd my
in my
$8
pocket.
billion of my $10 billion go? Where do we do with that $8 billion? Like
This was
and nobody says anything.
No, but they do. But listen, this was a conversation I had a long time ago about the deficit with someone who, had views that were leaning left. And, we were having discussion about it and how the government runs and it doesn't run, what they can do. I said, well, what about the deficit? I said, at some point we're going to have to address that. We can't just it's like the elephant in the room, right? Nobody wants to talk about it. Everybody just wants to continue to do whatever. He's like, well, who cares about deficit? It's never going to be paid. It'll never be paid anyway.
That's a right approach there. Boy,
So I said, well, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, well, it's not even a real number. Like, it's just. So I'm like, okay, so you just don't want to address the deficit. You want to continue to just waste money as a government. The government in general just wastes money, And then you could debate what's waste and not. I'm not here to debate that, right? But it's like that's a mentality. Like, it's not even like it's such a huge number that like. Guys, it's not a surprise that we're not going to be the world superpower anymore very short. If we're not now, but I mean, it's just going to keep going. We're going to keep falling behind other countries. We're going to keep, and this is just, again, until we wake up and see where we're at and really come up with some real solutions, like we're going to continue to decline. It's sad. I hate even saying that. It hurts saying that. Yeah.
Well, and I think what it does is it causes folks like us and folks who are in the private sector to call it out. I mean, and we talk about Elon Musk here and there, but a great example are the reusable rockets, right? How many decades did we go throwing away millions, if not billions of dollars after every launch?
I'm sure that I think NASA doesn't use reusable rockets yet. I mean, the Artemis 1 or Artemis 4 or whatever is out there floating around right now, right? Like I don't think
Who hasn't thought about this? Like Elon, I know he's brilliant, but like there hasn't been someone saying, maybe just
Yeah, I mean, over
it's
the
so,
last
because it's so
70
audacious
years.
of an idea, right?
like electric cars.
Like I think when you get in the government, right? Like
Yeah.
you go work for the government. I'm sure there's a lot of people they go and they work for the government. And they're like, I want to change the world and I want to work for the government because I think this is a way that I can make an impact, right?
Sure.
But it's bureaucracy. You can't do anything because it's made to not change. You know what I mean? It's like a self-protecting thing that the government has, right? Like it's not going to change because it needs to stay the same because there are so many people making money off of that, right? It's the benefit of it, right? Go back to FTX. You know what I mean? The interesting thing is he wasn't, SBF wasn't, he's not being forced to come in and testify in front of Congress. They've asked him to. Over Twitter.
Seriously.
Over Twitter, right? Maxine Waters said, I would hope that you would show up and come in and testify. And he came back with, well, I'm just not ready to do that right now. I'm not comfortable with it. But he was one of the largest donors to the Democratic Party.
Yeah, I knew that.
Right. And so he's not being subpoenaed to testify. And now that got out. And so now they're saying, well, if he doesn't come in, we may subpoena him.
Right.
Right.
Trying to, pull back.
So what's the difference? You just say, hey, you got to come in, dude.
But the thing is how
Yeah.
in your right mind can somebody lose this billions of dollars and you not subpoena him to come in and explain what happened? Like he's going on all these talk shows right now.
He is.
You know what I mean? I mean, he's doing a publicity. He's got a PR campaign going right now, right? Yeah. But like, you don't. Why? It blows my mind, right? Like, if I don't pay the government the $100,000 that I owe them, they're going to take my house, my car, my bank account, right? My life. You know what I mean? Put me in prison. but this guy loses billions of dollars
And
there's no accountability whatsoever. It's just like, hey, if you feel like it over Twitter, like now Twitter is you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
if you feel like it, we would really appreciate if you'd come in and maybe tell us maybe what happened, what happened to these billions of dollars.
There's people who actually lost everything.
Everything.
Like they said, everything.
Everything.
I had a new client recently who was sharing. This is just before their newfound business model, which was using the FTX and the Binance to fund incremental growth in their portfolio. Right? I can't disclose any of the numbers, but
Not good.
It's painful.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, not good.
It's painful. Life savings gone, and requesting
Yeah.
the person who's responsible for
Right.
it.
Do you think you could show up possibly for this house
Yes.
oversight investigation into
For
what
how
happened?
many millions of lives you've devastated?
Right.
I mean, Bernie's in jail.
Yeah, Bernie. No, I mean he died, right?
Well, did he die?
For
Yeah,
sure
he
he
wasn't in
might-
jail. Yeah.
But he was in jail for
Yeah, but
multiple lives.
Yeah,
You know
but
what
they
I mean?
got. But so his wife. So he was when Bernie got caught. He was trying to shelter a lot of the money he had. So he was like sending it to like family, and they got everybody. Like they came down on him. Like they had nothing. Like they took the napkins and forks out the kitchen and put them on eBay. I mean, they literally like, which rightfully so.
Rightfully so.
Rightfully so. So how come this guy's getting
Doesn't make sense.
this treatment?
Well, I mean, you had Sarbanes-Oxley after, WorldCom and Tyco and all of the, .com bubble companies.
Right.
But they were all part of like, hey, show up and,
Enron.
yeah.
It's the same game, just different players.
Yeah. Enron.
Different rules.
Different rules for
than
them.
what we have.
Well, unregulated securities. And I mean, you saw now in hindsight, right, padding all these pockets. Although I commend Beto O'Rourke for returning. They returned $1 million in campaign funds from him.
Did they?
Yeah. This was before it all came out. Maybe they knew it was going to happen. I don't know. I don't know. But so not everybody's sort of drinking the Kool-Aid.
Sure.
But at the same time,
good for him.
It all goes back full circle to authenticity, right?
It's 100% what it is. It's authenticity. We don't have, if you don't have authentic leaders, whether that's in a business, a government, whatever, right? Like, this is what happens.
Yeah.
This is what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, bad leadership in any organization is detrimental.
Be authentic. And when we're talking about authenticity, you drop the ball. Hey, own it, right? If you drop the ball because of fraud, own it. Do your time, whatever it might look like, right?
Whatever it is.
If you drop the ball because you foresaw something that never happened, own it, right? I mean, that's just, and don't paint a picture that's not real.
Right.
I mean, paint the picture that's real. You know what? Yes. The market may react and the speculation may change, but guess what? You're not caught with having to backpedal when the truth comes out. And most of the time it does.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, it does. Just apologize.
From the Bahamas.
Just apologize and let everybody know that you're sorry, and
It's all going to be okay.
Yeah, it'll all be
okay.
fine, and man, and
Thoughts and prayers.
There you go. Thoughts and prayers.
sleep on rocks and eat liver, and you'll be and you'll look like you do steroids.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just man, it's
Right.
wow.
And with bigger companies who maybe aren't facing those types of things like an Airbnb, disclose it all up front.
Absolutely.
You know what? In the beginning, like before people even, instead of the first thing people seeing are all these beautiful places, explain, hey, not everybody is going to have the same service rates. Not everybody's going to have the same cleaning rates. Not everybody's going to give you the same terms on cancellations. We recognize this. Please be aware of that before you make a reservation. Just be authentic.
Right. And don't make it so small that you can't read it. And I acknowledge this.
Fine print somewhere on page 48.
Right.
Yeah. It's good stuff.
Good episode, guys.
Yeah.
Good.
This is fun. We're having so much fun.
Yeah.
doing it. So I think our next episode needs to be on Sam's experience in an Uber versus a
Is it going to be that exciting?
We
though?
need
I need to
some
make it
video.
exciting.
You're going to make it
Yeah,
exciting.
I mean, it's up to you to make the content, man.
Yeah.
Should I like go
up to
live?
you.
Maybe do a video?
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I should.
Do the video. We'll play it.
Yeah.
Actually, what we've been talking about doing for our audience members, this is really cool. We're talking about doing some Facebook Lives. So we're planning on some of these next episodes and having an ability for you, the listener, to ask us questions about your business, your family, your life around leadership.
Yeah.
And on the spot, on the cuff, make sure, hey, we don't actually rehearse any of this stuff. You know, this isn't like, hey, we sat down for 6 hours and then we made sure we had all the right answers for you. We spend a few minutes talking about some relevant topics, and then we totally go off of our own expertise and understanding in these areas. And so we want you to know that we want to be able to answer your questions as they pertain to leadership. Some of them we may have instant answers. Some of them we might have to come back and share more data with you later, but we want to involve our audience in this conversation. So we're really excited about that.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'm looking forward to that.
Too.
Yeah. Yeah. And who knows, we're going to get some zingers, I'm sure.
I can't wait.
We have a few fans, I'm sure, will be definitely jumping on.
Absolutely.
That's the
But we're here for you every step of the way.
Absolutely.
Well, my friend, I am so thrilled that you joined me on this episode of A Call to Leadership. And before you go to the next episode, especially if you're binge listening, take a moment. I would love to get your honest review right here on your screen. Your feedback is so important. It helps the podcast. It encourages me, and it helps me. It helps me to give you more and more and more value. So I can't wait to read your review. I can't wait to be with you on the next episode. I'm Dr. Nate Salah. This is A Call to Leadership.